All right, you want to set up a podcast studio in the house, at the office, you got about $1,000 or so to spend, and you're wondering, what do I buy? Well, you're in luck, because I'm going to tell you. So let's dive in and check out Mike's podcasting setup. I've been podcasting for about a year and a half, got a Guinness World Record relating to my podcasting, and also hit the top 20 on Apple Podcasts a little while ago in one of the countries that we play in. So I'm not saying I know everything about podcasting, but I know a little bit. And as you know, if you watch this channel, I like tech. You probably like tech too. So this is what I currently have as my podcast setup. It's costing about $1,000, and I'm going to run you through it step by step. So first of all, let's talk about microphones, because you don't normally see this mic on camera. Normally you see no mics on camera because we record with a boom mic. This is a Rode podcasting mic. It costs $100, but it's worth way more than $100. It's an awesome microphone. It feels super heavy. It uses a standard XLR cable, and I've paired it with Rode's official arm to connect to the table. The arm itself was about $100, so you're talking about a $200 setup here just for the mic and the arm. I have two of them because I have guests in the show, so now I'm at $400. And I think for the majority of people, two mics is probably the way to go. There's so many things I like about this microphone. First of all, you'll notice I don't have a pop filter. The mic has a pop filter built in. And if you don't know what a pop filter is, you know when you see people sing and they have that kind of round circle in front of the mic? It's to stop your mouth pushing out too much air when you get that pop, when you say a P or a B. And so this mic has something internally built in to try and help limit that. You can still use an external filter if you want to. I found that it doesn't really make much of a difference, and so I leave it alone. One of the other good things about the mic is the size is pretty small. If you need to have a go bag that you can hit the road and go, which I do from time to time with my RODEcaster that we're going to talk about in a minute, it fits real nice. It works really well. And as you can tell from my voice, it's got a good all-around range, a little bit of bass, a little bit of mid. I use Audio-Technica AT200s in the studios at my co-working spaces. They were one of the first mics that we bought. I find them more finicky to work with. I find them harder to work with. They pick up more background noise, and they're just all around trickier mics. This is a super easy, great for an entry level to a mid-level podcasting person. I know you're going to see a lot of folks using the Shure SM78s. They're like $600-700 microphones. I'm not saying that this is better than that. I just don't think an average person needs to spend that much money on their microphone. On the arm, most good microphone arms are going to have this option where you can obviously move the mic in and out. It's spring loaded and weighted, so it's going to stay where you want it to stay. But also when you're finished, I can just lift this up. Let me see if I can get a close up for you. So the idea is I can leave the clamp attached to the desk, and then I can just literally pop it up, and I can put the mic and the arm away somewhere safe when I don't want them in the way. Again, it depends on how you're going to use your studio. If you're going to have a dedicated podcasting table or area, or if it's a hybrid spot, maybe at the house. And so you want to be able to put these things away and keep them safe when you're not using them. But I love it. It's super easy. It clamps really well. I've been using this gear for quite a while. It's never worked its way loose. It's never given me any problems at all. Can't stress enough how great this is for a $200 mic and arm. Moving on from that, you'll notice my cabling is orange. One of the things I like to do when I'm setting up my studios, because we've got a few of them, is we will use multicolored cables so that every mic is cabled differently, and then I can easily track that colored cable to the back of my RODEcaster. So we use a RODEcaster Soundboard. These things are magic, and we're going to talk about them in a second, but the reason I like the cables to be easily colored is one of my studios has 4 mics. I can look at red, yellow, green, blue, and instantly know which volume level I'm supposed to be editing. And it just makes life easier than seeing what number is it if I've got a tape on it with a number 1 or a number 2 or whatever. So, useful tip from Mikey there. Take it or leave it. It's up to you. The soundboard, RODEcaster, about $600 or so. Again, depending on where you buy it, depending if it's on sale. This is by far the easiest board you will ever find to work with for podcasting. I've got 4 inputs, 4 XLRs. I got 4 outputs so that every person on a mic can have a headphone if you want them to. I've got a USB-C that I can connect straight to a computer, laptop. If I'm Zoom calling or I'm doing interviews with guests via computer, I can feed that audio straight in. I can feed it straight out. And then I've got obviously my power. But the big one is the micro SD card slot here in the back. Love the fact that I can record on this soundboard without needing a computer at all, especially if I'm going on the road. I have a go bag. I can put the soundboard in it. I can put a microphone in it. I don't even need to take this mic if I want. I can take some lav mics and I can hook them up with some adapters and use them that way. Very easy. Love the fact that it records straight to memory card. You really can't go wrong and you really can't make too many mistakes doing it that way. All the sound levels, the usual kind of culprits. I can turn inputs off so that they're completely out. It records each channel separately. So when I bring it into my software, I can handle each channel on its own. They're not collective groups. I can connect via USB. Obviously, we just talked about that. I can connect my smartphone to this as well. I can connect to Bluetooth. So I can Bluetooth my phone to the RODEcaster and I can use it that way as well. I've tried it. It's not great. It's definitely usable, but it's probably the least favorite way I would connect a device to the soundboard to capture someone's voice coming in. Not really because it's a limitation of the board itself, more because it's a limitation of they're probably on a cell phone and it's just a crappy quality overall of sound coming in because it's a cell phone call. And then finally, you've got these banks over here. They have preset sounds that you can use and you have multiple banks. So in the control system, I can go from bank 1, which is the first 8 inputs, bank 2, which is my second 8. So I keep the first 8 standard and I use the second 8 for things I want to use. For example, so if you want to have fun with some goofy sound effects, you can definitely do that here. And it sounds pretty good. But I can go into my menu options and I can go ahead and change to bank number 2. And I have a podcast. So here's my opening and closing cues that I can use as I'm recording. So for example, if I hit this one, it's going to slowly fade in with the audio that we use for the introduction of a podcast episode. Well, you're listening to the Mike Thakur Show. Thanks so much for tuning into this week's episode. It saves me having to say the same thing over and over again. I have the same thing for the closeout. It's going to fade in quietly. It's about a 45-second closeout. It makes life very easy if I want to do it this way. I can do it in post as well, but if I want, I can do it here and handle it all in one go to save me editing time after the fact. So you can program whatever you want on here. You do need a laptop to connect to it and you push it that way to the board, but you can definitely do it and you can definitely have some fun with it. And then you can use the volume slider, obviously, to fade that in and out to get it exactly where you want it to be. Other things that are great about the RODEcaster. The board has some really cool technical wizardry inside of its system. And you're going to see a couple of screenshots here. I can go in and I can look at things like the noise gate, the de-esser, and I can change some of these settings. I can look at the levels and whether it's pushing phantom power to the mics or not. I can do so many things from within this board. And look, if you're a super high-tech user and you know how to use the high-end gear, I get it. This is an entry-level kind of prosumerish level board. But if you're a simple guy like me, you just want to get stuff done and you don't want to get too carried away with technical stuff and you don't want to spend too much money, it's awesome. Most of what this does through its technical wizardry is enough to make you sound great on audio. Yes, you're going to still throw it into some kind of editing software. We're going to talk about that in a second. But trust me, compared to a regular soundboard, this thing is killer and you're going to love it. So we've talked about the microphone. We talked about the mic stand. We talked a little bit about the cabling. We talked about the board itself to record on. The very last thing is, what do I do when I got this audio? Okay, well, if you're a Windows user, you're probably going to want to go download something called Audacity. It's a free piece of software. If you're a Mac user, you're going to go ahead and use GarageBand because it's already included with your computer and it's going to do pretty much what you need it to do. If you're Windows and you want some higher end software and you use Adobe Creative Cloud, then that's going to come with Adobe Audition, and that is a much more complex, higher level post audio editing piece of software. They're all great. They'll all do the basics really well. You can throw your audio in there. You can remove some background noise if you need to, although it's always better just to get rid of the background noise when you're recording ahead of time. It is finicky to do it after the fact. Also going to want to learn to record without saying ums and ahs and things because it takes a lot of time to chop those things out when you go in and edit after the fact. I had a guest who was awesome and he had a triple stutter at the end of every time he spoke. It wasn't just an it wasn't just an R, it was like a well. And so the editing of that episode that was about 40 minutes took me about 4 hours to take all of those little bits out every single time and keep the pace moving. In real conversation, you don't notice it so much, but after the fact, when you're editing and then when people are listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or wherever they're listening, they tend to be a little bit less forgiving and they just want to keep moving. And so otherwise what will happen is people will skip and they might skip through something that's really valuable and you don't want them to do that. So be warned, use it wisely, but you can edit on any of those kind of computers and they'll do great. Final word of warning from me, some people like to record their audio straight to a computer. I don't like to do that. I think it's too risky. I don't care whether you're a Windows user, a Mac user. I've had bad experiences with all of them and they've all let me down. It's one of the reasons I love the SD card here. And honestly, most of the time I record in two places. So I'm recording to the SD card right now. I also have an audio out going straight to my camera and I'm recording the audio on the video feed at the same time. So I'm doubling up. I always like a little bit of redundancy just in case something goes wrong. It's a good habit to have. If you don't do that already, think about it, see what you think. But look, that's a quick overview. About $600 or so for the board, a couple $100 for a mic and a stand. If you need two, you're gonna be right about $1,000 and you still need to buy some cables. I got these on Amazon. You can go crazy and get some really high-end stuff. Just make sure they're well shielded. Make sure they got some great reviews and you should be okay. Keep your mic cables away from power cables whenever you can. It's a great way to set your studio up and keep power off. Depending on what your circuits are built like, especially on home studios, maybe try and plug in the power away from where the RODEcaster itself is plugged in. Use different outlets just to try and make sure you don't get any interference or hissing, humming, background noise, that kind of fun stuff. And I almost forgot, you don't see me with headphones on a whole lot, but you're going to want some headphones when you're recording because you're going to want to hear how you sound. These are Tascam TH02s. Cost me a whopping $25 on Amazon. Are they great headphones? You know what? I think they're pretty great. You know, yes, you can go get some studio cans and spend a whole lot of money, but these do the job and they do it pretty well. At the end of the day, how I sound on here doesn't really matter so much as how I sound on the final produced audio. So you're going to want to do some test recordings anyway and see how these levels affect things when you get them into the computer and you work with them properly. But you don't need to spend a whole lot. They do the job. They do it really well. And it's definitely going to help you as you listen to yourself and get over the weirdness of hearing your own voice to make sure that you're close enough to the mic. Because if you lean far away like this, you can't really hear yourself very well. Most podcasting mics, most decent mics built this way, you've got to be just a couple of inches away from them. They're not like shotgun mics and that kind of thing. So having the headphones helps you make sure you don't do this and start talking to your guest over there and nobody can hear you, which happens surprisingly often. You spend about $1,000. You've got an awesome setup. Now the only thing left is what are you going to talk about and how cool are you going to make it? So get out there, make it happen. Thanks for watching. Ask me your questions in the comments below. And until next time, let's go out there and be amazing.